Welcome and thank you for checking out my best movies of 2019 video. As I like to end things on a high note, this is the last video of the year from yours truly. My worst list video is already up. And just a few disclaimers before we start. This is a very personal list. My opinion is going to be different than yours, and that's okay. And I haven't seen every movie this year, unfortunately, namely Little Women, Bombshell, and 1917 and Richard Jewell are movies that I believe, had I seen them, they probably would have been at least an honorable mention, just judging from the trailers. And I have a few honorable mentions. These are movies that I absolutely loved, but unfortunately, I just loved 10 other movies a little bit more, so these still get their time to shine. Togo, a Disney Plus release that I had no idea was going to be as good as it was, and it's absolutely fantastic. The Report, an engaging thriller like so many others wish to be. The Peanut Butter Falcon, an incredibly endearing and emotional film that I adored from beginning to end. The Irishman, Martin Scorsese's mob epic, a contemplative look at someone who's dealing with their own mortality that makes us look on our own. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, a charming, emotional, heartwarming film that just tugs at your heartstrings. Just Mercy, an incredibly honest and engaging look at the injustice that so many people still unfortunately live through today. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino's fairy tale about the world of filmmaking. Spider-Man Far From Home, the best live-action Spider-Man film ever since Spider-Man 2. The Nightingale, Jennifer Kent's harrowing look at a story about vengeance. And Fighting With My Family, the underdog story of all underdog stories. This film is just charming, it's funny, it's emotional. I love everything about this film. And those are my honorable mentions. We've wasted enough time on this. Let's get started with number 10. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World is the best animated film of the year. It's poetic, it's emotional, it brings the entire franchise to a close with a very adult ending, a look at what true friendship and true love and selflessness is. I adored this film. Might be my favorite of the franchise, having rewatched it again and again throughout this year. I love these characters. I couldn't have asked for a better ending closing out these characters' stories. The Lighthouse is my number 9, the nightmare created by Robert Eggers, who skyrocketed into one of my favorite directors working today. The brilliant performances, the phenomenal, flawless direction, the haunting score, the look at a man going down into madness and coveting something that he should not possess. I couldn't stop thinking about it. It's one that is going to stay with me. It has stayed with me, and I cannot wait till it gets a home release. Jojo Rabbit is a movie that in anyone else's hands other than Taika Waititi probably wouldn't work. I can't even imagine how he tried to sell this film on a pitch meeting. It's emotional, it's heartwarming, it's one of the most beautiful films I have seen in years, and I know it's a movie about the imaginary Hitler. It's that good. John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, perhaps my favorite again out of the 3. I cannot wait to see number 4. The ending, which I complained about in my review, just doesn't bother me as much because these films are not about realistically what the human body can withstand. It's just about fun, engaging action, and probably the biggest exploration of the lore of this world that we've gotten thus far. And again, if they continue to do this, bring me John Wick 19. Booksmart is probably the best directorial debut I've seen in the past few years. This story is as simple, as recognizable as they come, but this is probably one of the best examples of how to tell this story. It's captured beautifully one of the year's funniest films with 2 of the top performances of the year, and again, Olivia Wilde. I cannot wait to see her next movie. And now we are in the upper half. Some of these films were really hard to put in an order. Some of these films you're going to be shocked to see them here because I didn't grade them as high, but rewatching them, they went up on my consideration for them. Parasite, Bong Joon-ho's social commentary that is as beautiful and as funny and as thrilling as it is thought-provoking. This film is captured in some of the best cinematography of the entire year, some of the best performances, some of the best directing. He changes who is the hero and who is the villain, who's the antagonist and who's the protagonist. Who you're rooting for is not the same at the beginning of the film as it is in the ending. And the ending is fantastic. It just changes lanes, it changes shifts, and it just gels magically together. Marriage Story is one of the hardest movies to watch, but one that I catch myself wanting to rewatch. The realistic portrayal of what a divorce is difficult. It gets ugly. People say and do things they don't necessarily mean or want to do, but it's mostly about love and what you are truly fighting for. There's a line in this film that says, "I'm always going to love him even though it doesn't make sense anymore." That to me is the line that captures this entire film as a whole. It makes you cry, it makes you laugh, but whenever it makes you cry, it also feels like Noah Baumbach or just a friend is hugging you or holding you against him and saying, it's okay. These things happen and sometimes you can't avoid it. It's one of the most comforting films I have seen. It's beautiful is the word to describe it. Knives Out is perhaps my favorite script this entire year. This film is smart. It plays with you. It plays with all its pieces in such an engaging, innovating, reinvigorating way to this genre. This is as classic a genre as they come, and Knives Out feels like no other that I've seen before. It feels new, it feels fresh, the performances are phenomenal, the characters are so intricate and so well developed and so well established and fleshed out. It's amazing to see. Ana de Armas gives her best performance to this day, and she is going to skyrocket into stardom. I'll be shocked if that doesn't happen. Daniel Craig, give me every movie you want with this guy playing Benoit Blanc. Rian Johnson proves once again how he's a smart filmmaker that pays attention to the most intricate detail, and I love that this film just doesn't play out as you believe it will first thing. It keeps changing the questions you should be asking. That's just a proof of a smart filmmaker. Le Mans 66 is the most appropriate title for this film. The performances are electric. This film is dynamic. It's entertaining as hell. It's funny. It's emotional. It's about the human spirit, the creative spirit versus the corporate spirit. James Mangold directs this film like a superstar. Your eyes are glued to the screen for the entire runtime. I don't feel the runtime whatsoever in this film. Some of the most engaging car racing caught in film is here, and I'm not even a car racing guy. I couldn't give two squats of shit about cars, and this film just engages you because it's a human story within this, let's say, skin of car racing. The car racing really isn't what this film is about. It's about so much more than that. It's about what it means to these human beings, what they have on the line. It's a perfect representation of how to explain and how to deal with stakes in your film. There just aren't many movies that reach this level of quality and entertainment and combine them so well. But there is one. Avengers Endgame, probably the most obvious choice you were expecting if you have followed me for any period of time. If you see that poster back there just isn't a movie that took me to this level of emotion the entire year, probably ever. At least ever since the first Avengers movie. And I'm not just talking about the third act, even though it's awesome and it's the payoff to everything I never dreamed I would actually see on the big screen in a movie. But this film spends time with his characters, dealing with the loss. The scene with Natasha eating the peanut butter sandwich. There's a scene with Tony and his daughter. There's a scene with Tony and his father. There are just so many human moments. This film worries so much more about the drama in our characters, not the heroes wearing the masks or the helmets or the capes or the shields or the hammers. It takes time dealing with real human emotions, like going through a depression like Thor is, like going through grief like Tony is or Steve is. There are human moments surrounding this movie, otherwise we wouldn't care as much, and this film took its time. And the last half an hour, yes, it's the best thing to ever happen to these eyes ever. I don't get tired of the last hour, but I don't get tired of the first 2 hours either. I adore this film. I adore what it does. I adore how it does it. And those are my top 10 movies of 2019, along with some honorable mentions. Thank you so much for watching, my beautiful geekies. You are the best. Let me know what you think of my top 10. What is your top 10? What are your honorable mentions? What movies did you love but just didn't make the top 10? Whatever you want to talk about your movies, about my movies, let me know in the comments below. And thank you so much for this awesome year of 2019. We've reached 2,000 subscribers. We've reached 2,100 subscribers. And I want to thank you. I want to keep growing. I want to keep bringing you more videos. And I can't wait for this new year. Stay tuned tomorrow for my most anticipated movies of 2020. And check out my worst list for 2019. Once more, thank you so much. You are the best. So until the next video, don't forget to stay beautiful, stay geeky, and subscribe and like, because it really helps me out. But most importantly, forever and always, love each other and love the movies.